Pump it. Okay, pumps on. Release the pressure. Pumps off. That's sick. Must be getting serious if you're putting fuel in it.
Oh yeah. Today we hear the car running in the first time. Please tell me there's no fuel on the floor.
No,
There shouldn't be.
nothing yet.
Perfect. Let's see when the fuel pump kicks on. You have your fire extinguisher?
Somewhere.
The fact you don't know where it is isn't good.
Oh, it's right there behind you.
Oh, sick. Alright. Yeah, just keep that on there. Fair.
I want this closer to
Fair.
me.
I'm not even mad at you.
Okay.
Right?
Try just turning it over. Just crank it. It's like dead. That's on 200 amp start. I have to like charge for a while.
Oh. Yep. So
what are you doing, George?
Putting on the ground because the engine isn't grounded to the chassis at all. Anywhere. Electricity doesn't go through rubber, kids.
Or painted.
Or painted pieces of metal either.
Well, yeah. So the bolts aren't doing anything because between those and the engine's rubber.
Yep. Yep.
So even the way you were thinking, yeah, that doesn't really work.
You know, this is why it's taken us 30 minutes to get the car started when I said I'd get the whole thing ready in 30 minutes.
Yeah, you'd have the ignition. So when we got here tonight, he said he was going to get the ignition, fuel pump, MSD, all wired in about 30 minutes and have this thing running.
Here we are, like an hour and a half or 2 hours later.
It's almost 9 o'clock.
Okay. It's been some time. It's been some time.
We had an issue with the carburetor, nothing major. The rear bowl was too high. We got that adjusted. But then we realized that the accelerator pumps weren't working. They were solid, couldn't move them. The little needles in the squirters were stuck. Got those freed up. And now it just wants to crank real slow, so we're thinking that it's a bad ground. What if you just hurried and put it on one of them bolts on your oil
You're a smart guy, Robbie.
your oil filter down there, just for right now. Had to bust out the old trusty carburetor adjuster. 5/16, good old faithful.
Well, look at that.
That helped.
Helped a lot.
All right, so all right, kick on your ignition.
All right, let's hope that I can at least wire the ignition to one of the switches.
Yeah.
All right.
Fire.
That worked.
It worked. Did you have oil pressure?
I didn't even look. I was like, I started, turn it off, and then I realized that I skipped the first switch. So I have the second and third switch wired, not the first one.
Oh, so everything's down one?
Yeah, everything's down one. The first one, I tried to kick off the ignition to see if that was the right one. Then it didn't. I was like, okay, kick off the second one real quick. Anything dangerous happen that
No.
you can see?
No.
All right, well, I'm gonna send it one more time. Let's see if we see oil pressure. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, there wasn't any oil pressure.
That's very concerning.
All right, George, what are we doing?
Taking off the oil pan.
We are getting ready to pull the oil pan off so we can see why he does not have oil pressure. So this car, let's get under here. As you can see, this car uses a front sump oil pan. Steering's back here, front sump, opposite of what most LSs are.
Actually, GTOs had that from the factory. Whatever.
Yeah, I said most. So GTOs had front sump oil pans, but this is an aftermarket pan, and he has to run. He doesn't have provisions for an oil filter, so he has this remote oil filter here. And as we found out last night, there's not a drop of oil in the oil filter. So we gotta figure out why there's no oil pressure. One of two things: probably cut or rolled the O-ring on the pickup tube, or the pickup tube might be flush against the bottom of the pan, so I can't pick up any oil. So we're gonna check those two things here. So
I'm gonna say it's user error.
Installation error.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But once we get this pan off and figure out what it is, we'll be back. All right, so we got the oil pump drop down here, and here's what we found. This little teeny tiny O-ring is what was supplied on the pickup tube with this oil pan. George thought that it kind of felt funny. Should have went with his gut.
Yeah.
But put it together anyways, and yeah, this thing, the pickup tube was slopping back and forth like there's no way it was picking up oil with this little tiny O-ring in there. So we got a new one put in there, the right one of the really thick, I think it was the green one we ended up going with.
Yeah.
And so now George has to put the pan back on so that we can test fire it again.
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully we got oil pressure this time. We got oil pressure this time. We are grooving.
Yeah, so we tried all the assortments, and the green one seemed to fit the tightest, so that's what we went with.
Hey, tight is tight.
Tight is tight. Tight is right.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure that was gonna fix it. So we got a few things that we still got to button up and finalize, like our ground wire from last night that we just kind of temporarily threw on it. We're gonna make a nice one and do it, like finish it.
Circuit breaker.
Yeah, just finalize a few things so that when it's running, we don't have to finagle all this stuff. So,
Yep.
All right, we'll keep you updated.
I'm making a huge mess. Get that H over straight.
Hang on. I want to make sure we're not flooding again. Just double check.
Hey, don't lose that wing nut. It's color match.
Okay. Okay, fuel pressure's good. Rear bowl's a little high, but yeah. You gonna start it?
Yeah. That's what I was waiting for.
I hope so. Okay, go ahead.
Can you go on this side and look at oil pressure?
Oh yeah. That was the whole point of this.
Yes. About to go to church on Sunday. I'm scared.
It's not gonna start, so.
That sounded absolutely terrible.
What was the oil pressure at?
It was building.
Try it again. Maybe it was just empty. Try it again.
What
Maybe
did
it
I
was
say?
just.
Fire it back up.
Maybe it just didn't have the oil pressure.
Fire it back up.
All right.
Not smoking yet, so you're fine. Alright, George. It's just a game we play with mechanics.
Hey, as long as it fucking runs. Runs when we got oil pressure. Nice.
All right, guys, so that was just a quick update on the Maverick and kind of where we're at with it. I know there's been a huge delay in videos. Life just kind of got in the way there for a minute. We had done an update video and I was kind of in the middle of that. And then I got news that my grandmother had passed away. So I had to take some time off and travel to Utah and kind of deal with that for a while. So again, I apologize for the kind of delay in updates on both the Maverick and the S10. So as you guys saw, the Maverick, we got it running and driving. Actually, I shouldn't say driving yet. We got it running, had the issue with the oil pressure, found the pickup tube O-ring was not the correct one. Switched that out. It had oil pressure, and the thing runs, and we were able to put it down on the ground and put it in drive, and it did move forward and it did move back. So that's a good sign that the old Turbo 350 that I put together for it is probably going to work out just fine. He's still got to do his cooling system. We were able to get the radiator mounted last night. He just has to make the hoses for it. What else we got? He's just got to do some wiring to get his lights working too. And then I think that's pretty much it. And he can drive this thing. He's going to try and drive it home. We probably need to go over the brakes, make sure the brakes are bled. They kind of work, but we probably need to bleed them. Just make sure they're adjusted and stuff like that. The car does have 4-wheel drum brakes. He has a disc brake set up for the front of it. Nobody really makes a disc brake conversion kit for these cars. It's a bunch of later model OEM parts that you kind of have to make fit it to convert it over to disc brake. And then it also, I believe, changes the bolt pattern. So he doesn't really want to get into that before LS Fest. So he is going to be taking the car to LS Fest with drum brakes on it, but he's not going to be going crazy fast. Drum brakes work just fine. As much as people don't want to believe, drum brakes do actually work very well when they do work. They just need to be adjusted and bled properly. So he'll be doing that. The S10, after the track where that one wire melted in the connector, my OCD got the best of me. And instead of just fixing the wiring right there, I ripped all of the wiring out of the whole truck. You saw throughout the video some wiring and stuff, and me wiring a little bit in the S10. So all of the wiring in the truck is brand new other than for the lights. Everything inside of the truck is brand new. So rewired it completely from scratch, made a new relay board that's mounted up on the dash, a lot easier to reach and get to than it was before. Still got a few things to button up on it. Need to wire in my inputs and outputs and redo those. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to update on the S10 other than I basically rewired the whole truck. But more to come on that stuff, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to try and update you guys as much as I can along the way. Sometimes with these builds and the time crunch, it's hard to videotape everything because we're just kind of in a hurry. So I'm going to do my best to update you guys and try and get as much footage as possible. But in the meantime, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys later.